And we
What's up,
are live.
Chill?
So thank you, Rexola BioRex 18. What's the 18 mean? Is that you started this when you started that account when you're 18 years old or what?
Yeah, yes, sir.
That's what it means? Okay. It's not your mentality. You have the mentality of an 18-month-old? No, that's not what it means.
Mm, maybe it could definitely be that too.
Okay.
Honestly, 18's my favorite and my lucky number as well. So,
Hmm. Your favorite age of dating? 18-year-olds. Anyway, thanks for being here and everybody who's going to be here watching. We're talking about Nephilim and giants. We're going to talk about the verses that they have in the Bible, and we're going to talk about the historical art and the archaeological finds that actually back up some of these giants. And Rex is our giant expert in general, but he's also more specifically our giant expert in Arizona. So, why don't we, for now, bring up maybe a couple biblical verses, and then let's talk about some like real evidence that there's being for Bible, like sorry, for giants and the skeletons and everything that have actually been found. So, let's go into Genesis 6. So, a lot of people know that Genesis 6 is a verse that talks about giants. So, let's bring that up really quickly, and then we'll jump into some of these cool finds. And yes, guys, I know that everybody watching that there's a lot more stuff in the pseudepigrapha, which means false writings in Greek. Not that they're false, but books like Enoch 1, Enoch 2, The Watchers and stuff. A lot more on the giants in those books, but for now, I'm just trying to stick to canonical scripture. So this is Genesis chapter 6, verse starting at verse whatever. We'll just read it. So I believe it's verse 4 where it starts, but we can start from verse 1. So this is called the Nephilim and the Daughters of Men. Most of you probably heard it. Genesis chapter 6. Now it happened when men began to multiply on the face of the land, and daughters were born to them, so, human women, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men were good in appearance. So this is talking about angels are like checking out these earthly women and basically saying, wow, these chicks are hot. So they took wives for themselves, whomever they chose. That chick's hot. She's my wife. This is what these angels are saying. Then Yahweh said, my spirit shall not strive with man forever, because he is indeed his flesh. Nevertheless, his days shall be 120 years old. And, the crazy thing about that is I don't even think there's been anyone that's lived over 120 years. There might have been, but I'm pretty sure that people. Hey, April, how you doing, sister? Good to see April here. One of my only channel members. I used to have a lot more channel members, but YouTube like demonetized me for like months, and they canceled all of my channel memberships. So people had to like. A lot of people don't even know this, but they have to renew their channel memberships. So April did that. Thanks, April. So yeah, so this is what this is talking about. A lot of people have heard it before, but what I was saying is kind of weird. Rex, like not a lot of people live to be close to 120. This was talked about thousands of years ago in the Bible. I know we talked about like crazy monk claims and stuff of people that are like 200 years old, but to be honest with you, I don't believe any of that. The
what
the
about the
oldest I'm
what about the
uh
Bible? What about the Bible? Isn't
that's about like the golden days, like before the flood, and like that's talking about the golden days in the Bible, like when people like Methuselah lived to be 1,000 years old, the oldest person in the Bible. This is talking about after that. So because he is indeed flesh, nevertheless his days shall be 120. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. So there you go. It's talking about the Nephilim coming into the earth, picking out hot wives and impregnating them. And the whole theory and everything is that these Nephilim are the children, the offspring of the impregnated human women that were, I mean, sorry, the giants. The giants are the offspring of the Nephilim that had babies with the human women. So there is one Bible verse that talks about Nephilim, and let's go into your actual stuff now, Rex. So why don't you tell us a little bit about some actual archaeological finds in your area there of Arizona where they actually documented, like the Smithsonian and everything, found large giant skeletons from a long time
Yep.
ago.
Yep. From one side to Arizona into Nevada and up into
Hmm.
Utah, a lot of our highways were built, and there's lots of news claims and articles on this. You can really type in Arizona newspaper or whatever you want to type in. But as they were building the highways, many of these mounds that they had pushed through, they had found giants, right? So there's lots of these giants. When you look, you're like, wow, there's actually 1,000+ claims of this happening throughout Arizona when the development of the highways were being built.
Okay.
Now you got places like right here. This is
Lovelock Cave, right?
no, this one right here is the
Oh, these are
thing.
Lovelock Caves. This is Lovelock Cave. That's the outdoor entrance.
The picture on the left is what they called the thing in Arizona. Lovelock
Okay.
Cave's got a different.
But on the
It might
right is a
actually,
picture of
yeah,
Lovelock
of
Caves.
Lovelock, yeah. But the picture on the left is from when the giants found in one of these mounds. And
Okay.
when this one on the left has actually got an interesting story. When they found her,
Hmm.
she had the baby. She has a baby. She's holding a baby. But what's crazy about it is that baby is somehow intertwined into her entire chest. They've done X-rays on her, and there's a full-on baby there, but she's holding some sort of baby on her chest, and it's actually infused with her skin. She's also, if you see these guys right here, these are average height men. I think they were like 5'10" or 11. They're pretty high or tall, and you can see that she's exceeding their height. And this is one of the females. So the caves, the thing, this is the thing. The one over in Lovelock Caves, which is Nevada, uh, the males, the females are about this size, and a lot of people don't realize this, but this is the species we're speaking of that are these giants. This is what the females, probably one of the better preserved females we actually have still, besides Lovelock Cave. Lovelock had male and females, and the difference was what they found in Lovelock wasn't just uh, the size difference, but they noticed that the ones in Lovelock had two sets of teeth, an extra toe on both feet, and an extra finger on both hands. So they had 6 fingers, 6 toes, and an extra set of teeth. But they also noticed that the ones in Arizona had this brown, black hair, and the ones in Lovelock have this ginger red hair. So these were huge noticeable differences, but what they were noticing is they're still in the same height, right? And so they claim these are like 7 and 8 feet. The one I saw, I'm pretty sure it's bigger than that. I'm 6'4", and it almost felt double my height. So I'd say closer to maybe 12 feet realistically, but that's also the females. It seems like in all these places they want to show you the smaller one. Does that make sense? To That's what I've noticed. That's just what I've
Yeah.
noticed. Okay, so from there, you say, so you know that I moved back and forth, and we were doing the topic on this, and you're telling me to go do the research on it and going back and forth. So as I met the Apaches, I spoke to many of the Apaches here, and the Apaches believed that the natives were used to be cannibals that lived here back before the cowboy settlers settled up. And they believed that they were just mindless monsters that came out. They were humans too, but they would just
Hmm.
come down and eat the farm stock and take women. Now, remember this part. This is the thing
Sorry,
right here.
sorry
We're
to cut
talking.
you off. This guy says the one picture looks like a rock. Yeah, it is, bro. The picture on the right
It
is
is.
the entrance to Lovelock Caves, and we're going to get into that in a sec. That's where they found a bunch of giant skeletons. Okay, so what are you talking about, Rex?
Okay, so I don't
Something
know. You know
about
that train.
pigs and women eating, or what are you going off about?
I don't know. I got lost a train of thought there.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Actually, yeah. Okay, bet you're right. So they coming out of the mountains and they're eating up all the farmland and farm stock, the livestock.
All
They're
right.
having issues with it. And this is the thing that's coincidental from what we're talking about in the Bible too, talking about beings coming out and taking people. Okay, so and then impregnating them. Well, there were a lot of these people. The Indians claimed that most of the time when these giants came and took somebody, they never returned. Most of the time. So there are stories, and there are giant natives that started showing up, where you'd have natives that would just happen to be like 6 foot tall, where these most of these natives are like five, like 6.
Okay.
Pretty big difference in height, almost like a foot and a half, 2 feet difference all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
right? What you have that middle sizing. You have these 13-foot beings, and you have these 5-foot people. You end up with these like 6.5-foot people. Okay, so then that's here. That's here in Arizona.
Okay.
Over in Nevada, where you have Lovelock Cave, right?
Mm-hmm.
We asked the same native, well, different native reservation over here and different being of natives. Asked them about that without even giving him any information. The first thing brought up was giants, saying that giants still live in the Sierra Mountains today in the native reservations, and they're terrified to go out there. They say it's very unsafe to go out there. They say, and if you do, you should always come armed out if you're going far out to Sierra Mountains. Very dangerous place. And the natives believe this. Now, here's the other thing. They believe that most of them at one point were a lot smarter, kind of like a big tribe. And they were
Okay.
having problems. And so the Nevadans were having problems with these as well. And the tribes had linked together across the West Coast to have a plan to stop the giants, which was to run them into these caves and set fires, back them up in the caves and set fires upon them. And so I heard that story there. Then moved back to Arizona and started talking to some of the chiefs out here to find out that's exactly the same story. And then the White Mountain natives and just all the Apaches, the natives out here in Arizona. I know not all of them are Apaches, but there's so many out here, right? I can't name
Okay.
them all, but
Let's talk. Seeing how you mentioned Lovelock Caves, before we get into a little more scripture, let's bring up the Lovelock Caves. It's funny that a lot of people are trying to pass this off as only legend now, which is really strange to me because apparently these skeletons are in the Smithsonian and there's a lot of evidence. There's someone that actually talks about them. There's skeletons found. So this is the legend. Now they're trying to call it a legend. So Lovelock Cave is associated with legends of red-haired giants, which I find is pretty crazy because these Nephilim, even like you remember my video I did years ago, the one you were talking about me unprivating, which I like accidentally privated about the giant of Kandahar. Well,
oh
that was a
yeah, that's a
giant that
good
came
one.
out of Kandahar, Afghanistan, and these military soldiers said this thing had red hair too. And if you look at a lot of people from that part of the world, a lot of these Muslims in Afghanistan and Iraq, they have like these bright orange beards. It's really weird. Like they have brown hair all over, but their beards are
And
like bright
blue, and they
orange.
got blue, and they got blue skin, bro. So that's something I don't talk a lot about,
Well, I never heard
but
about these guys having
but
blue skin, but their hair is orange, which I wanted to
yeah,
say.
check
They
that
have
out. Remember, go back into so the two
so.
colors of the skin colors that the giants are talked about in these natives a lot
Mhm.
is like this blue gray color.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of trying to lean more on the biblical verses, but it is, I guess, important to talk about these native legends if they're spotting these giants. Another thing, another thing that the Bible talks about, guys, that you might find interesting, talking about natives, is the Nephilim have 6 toes and 6 fingers. Now, you know how the natives used to go like this? How? That's how they greet people. Well, apparently the reason that they go like this, how, and raise their hand is so they can see how many fingers that you have. They can tell if you're a Nephilim or a human because the Nephilim have 6 fingers and 6 toes. So I didn't know that, but a good native friend of mine actually told me that's where that how originates from, right? Makes sense.
Yep.
It's a way for them to count your fingers when they stick their hand up. So that in mind, yeah, it is pretty important to tie these natives legends in with the biblical giants. So going back to Lovelock Caves, it's talking about red-haired giants, and they're trying to like pass this off as folklore. But do you remember the old video that we did on Lovelock Cave? We actually took a video straight from the History Channel where they were
Yeah.
showing they were telling the story and they were showing the skeletal finds. And remember, I remember specifically because I got copywritten for using a small clip from the History Channel. So the
Yep.
so-called legend of the Saitaka, a tribe of red-haired giants, is part of a northern Paiute oral history. They're described as cannibals who fought with and were eventually defeated by the Paiute, with the final battle taking place at Lovelock Cave. So it is an actual cave. Lovelock Cave is located in present-day Churchill County, Nevada. It's been inhabited for thousands of years by various indigenous groups, including the ancestors of the Paiute people, uh, Gowana miners who excavated the cave in the early 20th century, reported finding numerous artifacts and mummified remains. So here's the artifacts. Early reports of the excavations, such as those in 1911 and 1924, mentioned the discovery of mummified remains, including one reportedly 8 foot tall and another 6.5 foot tall, both with red hair. Additionally, a 15-inch sandal and a boulder with a possible giant handprint was found. So it's crazy. Of course, there's skeptics. It says, however, subsequent archaeological investigations and analysis have cast doubt on the giant narrative. Skeptics point to potential misinterpretations of the evidence and the possibility of red hair being a result of natural staining. So it's casting doubt. It's not saying that, no, they don't have it. Now, here's the Smithsonian connection. In 1908, the Smithsonian Museum expressed interest in the artifacts and supposedly tested a skin sample from one of the mummies, reporting finding that it was gelatin, not human skin. Some accounts suggest that remains were taken to the Smithsonian, but this is disputed. Like, I never heard of it being disputed that it went. It used to be like they used to pretty much, describe it as a fact that it was at the Smithsonian. So obviously, and while you guys are here, I'd like to say thank you. Please make sure you hit that like button, or if you're not enjoying the show, give it a dislike and leave a comment below and let me know how I can improve the shows or what I can do better. But thank you for being here, guys. Anything else you'd like to say before I jump into another Bible verse there, Mr. X? It's a small Bible verse anyway.
Yes, I got a quick like 5 minute or
sure, yeah, go for it.
All right, so this is for entertainment purposes only, and I'm not saying this is fact. As over the last like 15 years, I have been studying and trying to do self-research on the matter. I have talked and spoke to a lot of people to connect a lot of dots. And so I've not heard this one out there, so I do want to take credit since it's not out there and I'm the guy that looks for it. I haven't been able to find it.
Okay. What is it?
So from Mount Shasta to Nevada to Arizona, all the way into the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
There's a huge story, and there's a big thing that connects it, which is these giants. And now we were talking about the remains. You saw the remains there in where the thing was at in Arizona, right? She clearly didn't have red hair. Looked pretty black, right?
It was a black and white photo, so
yeah. I saw her. They got her for display in there. She has super.
Oh,
dark.
You've seen the actual thing in person?
Yeah, it's super cheap. She was like in the middle of nowhere on the way. It's like right after Safford.
Okay.
It's like it's got a big O sign and everything. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
But anyways, so seeing the ones that are displayed over there at Lovelock, seeing the ones that are displayed at the thing, what I noticed is the ones that are in Nevada are the Nephilim. The ones that are the thing, that's the native half-breeds. That's the one. It says the Nephilim had children with the humans. That's what they were.
No,
I'm pretty sure of it. Because that one had 5 fingers, and she looked like a native, Arizona native, but
maybe
massive.
It was just some tall mummy. I don't know.
I'm 6'4", dude. This thing, if she was a tall mummy, bro, I don't know. All I gotta say is she was the biggest mommy I've ever seen in my life by a lot. She had to be a different animal or something. It was like seeing a giraffe compared to a horse. There's no way. Like big, tall dude. I'm 6'4".
What's the connection you're trying to make with Mount Shasta and what?
Okay, yeah. So Big Chief, a guy I met, Big Brian from Reno, which is so I told you he was gonna take me out to his property and stuff. And he was gonna tell me some stuff.
Okay.
So his family's got like old writings when they started learning how to like write from like their people and trying to learn English. And his like great grandpa wrote a whole bunch of stories about the fights of the giants because he was like that's how he knew it. He knows a lot about all this stuff, right? And he's showing me some of it. And I know I can't read all of it, but he was reading it to me pretty fluently. And I kind of I really do think he was telling the truth. Once again, I said this for entertainment and I have no proof or evidence, but he said the giants originally came from Mount Shasta and they all lived inside the mountain and something stopped them from being able to live in the mountain. And so they started coming to the surface. And when they did that, they started having war with the native people right off the bat. They would start taking people, and people started going missing immediately. War became across it.
There's a
And
lot
then
of
they said,
crazy conspiracies and tales from Mount Shasta. I know.
and now, so the Sierra mountain range is like the largest mountain range across like the western side of the United States, right?
Okay.
Massive, absolutely massive. And on the other side, that's Mount Shasta. Well, there's a lot of stories of giants. Now you can type in Sierra Mountains and giants. It's like never
Okay.
ending. So there's a constant trail from Mount Shasta in California, which is connected right there to Reno, right to where those stories are.
Hmm.
Same roads, the whole road where all the burial mounds are found is connected in a straight, pretty much a straight shot line from there. It's like almost a straight line. Like you could get a ruler and just draw a straight line and be like, whoa, dude, all this is just giants in the straight line where this road's at. Okay. For 12-hour drive
Hmm.
going 80 miles an hour. This is where the largest of the mounds are found from Nevada and in Arizona,
Okay, so
all the way
he's
through to the
claiming that
Grand
the
Canyon.
giants come from some crazy underground city or something inside of Mount Shasta. Is that his claim?
Yeah, basically. And then so as we start and I'm just
Okay.
saying this, whenever I was learning that, I didn't know half this stuff, but over the like last year, as people have been like we're looking into the Grand Canyon stuff,
We're
we
going to,
start to
yeah.
look at, yeah, and then I was already doing some digging there, and it's so trippy. If that's the case, they might have found tunnels that go all the way to Africa.
All right.
So these
Well,
guys
it's
could have
in.
literally, and I know it's a theory, but once you start looking into it, nobody else claimed it yet, so it'd be the first on your channel.
It's something to
Uh,
take into consideration, Rex.
there's like a full trail, bro, like an ant
Yeah.
trail.
I would like to try and stick more with the biblical evidence and the historical evidence, but it's definitely something to take into consideration. I mean, maybe another time we could get into. You got to start your own channel, and then you could go off on
I
all these
know.
crazy conspiracies that you feel like you're right. I'm just trying to stick to a biblical kind of niche on this channel, but I do like going down those rabbit holes. So like, you should start a channel for yourself, and then I could join you, and we could talk about all these crazy conspiracies. I'll invite
That's
people
true.
to come over and watch us and stuff. But that is something to take into consideration. There's just so many crazy stories and conspiracies and tales around Mount Shasta. Like, I don't even know where to begin, right?
It's true in
I'm
the
sure you know
Bible.
that.
Yeah, and no, seriously, you're the one that led me on with the Bible and leading down this because you were talking about the Nephilim the first time in some of our first videos. So
Hmm.
finding
Sure.
if the Bible's real, there has to be proof.
Hmm.
To
Well,
me,
there's
to
lots
me,
of
a
proof.
lot of this tells me the Bible is real because when I went looking, there's a lot of stories that are just unreal stories you can't believe, like these giant people.
There's a lot of proof about the Bible, like
But
all
they're
the
there.
rulers, dates, places, times. They're all real in the Bible, right? All the dates, all the rulers, all the events that happen. Like there's a lot of historians outside of the Bible, a lot of Roman historians of the day that talk about Jesus being a real person, the resurrection by the Roman Empire of Christ is like a documented fact. So yeah, and they've found like historical artifacts like I told you a couple of years ago they found a giant stone slab. Like until then, all this a lot of skeptics used to say the whole entire story about Jesus getting brought up to Pontius Pilate and getting condemned to die, all made up, all fake. Until ding ding ding, a couple of years later, archaeologists uncovered a giant ancient stone slab that said, "Now entering Judea under governance of the Roman governor Pontius Pilate." So it's like actual evidence in stone that Pontius Pilate was the governor of this section of Judea in this date. So a lot of cool proof in that sense gets unturned about the Bible all the time. So let me read this really quick, guys. This is Numbers 13, chapter 33. It's really short. It says, There also we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, are part of the Nephilim, and we became like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. So clearly, this is a metaphor. It's not saying that the giants were literally like. It's not saying they were literally the size of grasshoppers to these giants, because then they would be like 1,000 feet tall. But because it goes into the Bible, it actually goes in different places in the Bible to the size of these giants. But yeah, it's a metaphor for saying that these giants were huge compared to them. So this is just more proof from the canonical scripture, not from not from
Doesn't it
outside.
describe like buffalo in there though, and like the like it?
Buffalo.
I'm pretty sure I saw. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw this one where they're describing the size of these because measurements are different back then than today. And
Yeah.
somebody was like, it describes something about the buffalo or something
Well,
in there,
these like
and
cubits
and
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 like
yeah, so
stadiums.
they break it down. So they're like saying that like this thing would be larger than a buffalo in a
Well,
field
you can
compared to a
find
human
out how
being and
much
grasshoppers.
you can easily go on Google now and find out how much a cubit was, or a stadium, or a statum, or a cubit. It tells you
I
like
think
one.
we I think we did this with Malvin when we were doing it and
Yeah,
talking about all this,
we
and he
will
said it
do
was
it.
13, it was 13 feet. I think we had
We'll
Malvin in
do
there
it.
that year.
Like the King Og is talked about in the Bible as a giant, and it tells you the measurement of his bed. So we get a rough estimation of how tall these giants were, right? And obviously some were bigger than others. But yeah, this one verse, guys, just talks about yes, there were giants, there were Nephilim back then. They were super tall, uh, and
That's why a lot
they
of people believed for the longest time that these tombs that are found in coffins, because they're so large, that's why they believed they were coffins, because they
yeah,
matched the right cubic measurement system to be that. But they would be giants. They would have been 13 feet.
actually too. The
But but
next
but they didn't really find any bodies. A lot of these coffins, when you look it up, they didn't really find a lot of mummies. There's not as
yeah,
not in these coffins.
the next scripture I'm going to read, actually, that's funny that I was talking about King Og of Bashan, because the next scripture in the Bible that I'm going to read is about King Og, and it tells us how long and the measurements of his bed, so we get a sense of how big some of these giants were back then. And of course, we have the story of David and Goliath, which is one of the most famous stories of the giants that there were, right? So Goliath was obviously a giant, and yeah, so it's pretty cool. But I think now that we're coming into the season of the end times, like I don't think that we're fully in the end times yet, but like Christ said, when these certain things start to happen, wars, rumors of wars, all this, earthquakes in diverse places, uh, it's the season. It's the sign of the season. It means that the end is coming soon, and like God's time is different than human time, so we don't know when exactly that will be, but we know that we're getting close. And I think this is just my theory. I don't know if you guys have seen my last video I made that talks about demons being spotted walking the earth. Um, I think now that we're coming closer to the end, Satan and his minions are pulling out all the stops, and we're going to start seeing a lot more of this stuff, like any Nephilim that remained on the earth that lived through the flood, because that's a whole nother topic, right? And a whole nother discussion. Like God was supposed to have flood the earth and wipe out everything, but apparently some of these Nephilim must have survived, right? Because
Yep,
if they
there's a
didn't,
lot of
there
writing on
wouldn't
that.
be any Nephilim today. So, but yeah,
Yeah, and
that's
there's a
just one of my
lot
theories.
of weird. There is a lot of writing about Nephilim surviving too.
Make sure
When
you
you
guys hit
start to
that
look
like
at
button.
when you start to look into other cultures,
Yeah,
not just like in English, but like you start to look in other people's cultures itself,
yeah.
because there's different jump servers for different cultures. You start to find
Rex,
out that some of these other
why
cultures,
don't we
uh,
shift our focus over to the Grand Canyon? Are you cool with that?
oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. The Grand Canyon is a
Okay.
good topic. There's a lot going
Okay.
on right now.
I got an article about that. It's a few years old, but it talks about all these giant structures and stuff, guys, that have actually been found in the Grand Canyon. And Rex was telling me before we went live that apparently there's a lot of giant. You can tell him, Rex. You go ahead and tell him about the Grand Canyon.
Okay, so this stuff is known for the people out here. So like if you're in your town, there's things.
You there, Rex? I think we lost you. You're not talking anymore. God has silenced you. Just kidding. What happened to you? Where did you go now,
Am I
Rexola?
back?
Oh yeah,
Am I
you're back.
back?
Yeah, you're back.
That was so weird. What was the last word you heard me say?
Nothing, bro. You just started talking basically like you didn't say shite.
That's so weird. Okay, well check it out. I'm gonna reframe to that. Ask me that same question you asked me, and I'll go again.
Okay, well, I said if it's all right with you, let's move on. Let's shift focus to the Grand Canyon. And yeah, you guys will definitely take some audience questions soon. So I see Solid Rock here just put a pretty good comment in the comments. Put a good comment in the comments. So we'll definitely take some of those here in a bit. So yeah, stick around and talk as much as you want in the chat there, and we'll get to it for show. Just don't want to get too far off of focus. So we'll go to the audience live chat here in a few minutes. So I was saying, Rex, let's shift focus to the Grand Canyon, and I was just going to let you tell the audience basically what you were telling me before we went live about the Grand Canyon.
Alrighty. So locals here, where we're at, clearly I could tell you where these places are, the lakes, the mountains, all the way up here. I could take you to Flagstaff. We're going to go right to the Grand Canyon. And the Grand Canyon is actually, it seems that there's a lot of gossip more than anybody. But the people who are out here, there's not a lot of us. So we're not, the features now, we can talk. But this is something new. So a lot of people don't know what's going on out here. And the people out here seem to all just know, and we don't care. I don't know. I know he talks about it, but it's just is what it is. But over the years, as I've been doing this with Nick, and things that I never even knew until I actually started talking about this topic, which not a lot of people talk about, could even get you to the conclusions or even have the stuff. But what we're going to do is talk about some of these temples that are found. For the longest time, we were able to go anywhere in the Grand Canyon. And then all of a sudden, somebody found something in the Grand Canyon and they made it where it's off limits to everybody. Currently, we have fires going on in the Grand Canyon. And those fires are burning all the ancestral secrets that are there that nobody's been allowed to touch in the first place. Now nobody's stopping that. So the biggest path, and it seems that it has to do with giants. And what's going to put me to there is there's news articles in the papers and other claims all throughout Arizona before the internet got big, before 2012. Nick, you said your article's 5 years old, and there's plenty older than that. That was probably the newest one we could find because they don't want to talk about it. But the thing is, in that canyon, you can look this up. There's definitely pyramid-shaped buildings made from rock, and they'll describe it in any texture they want. Perfectly aligned. There's sphinxes in there. Everything you've ever known that's in Egypt is there. But they also, when they locked this place down, they were describing it and explaining that there was bullet holes inside of all these temples. So when they discovered them, there's bullet holes.
Yeah, I never heard that they found giant temples in the Grand Canyon. But I'm going to bring this page up, and it's going to talk about all the finds. Like it's talking about, it already says an underground city full of giant skeletons discovered in the Grand Canyon. I don't know how authentic it is, but we're definitely going to go over these finds. But yeah, just because I never heard of it doesn't mean it's not real, right? I'm not an expert on everything. So
and I haven't got a chance to go over this article with you yet. We're going to do it right here, but I'm going to tell you what I've seen. I know it's not going to tell you how old those skeletons really are. They're going to give you an estimate, but they could have been 100 years ago. If they're finding bullet holes in these buildings out here, bullets didn't exist like 200 years ago. So
you're saying
they were living there, and I think
let's go back a bit. You're saying they found some giant underground or just temples in the Grand Canyon? Are they underground temples, or what? Are they just temples down there somewhere?
They're both. Just like we're starting to see that there's Egyptian. This is where it's starting to open bigger doors. Just like you see over there in Egypt, there's more underneath the pyramid.
And you're saying that there's bullet holes in these
and so they describe the bullet holes when you look into it and really investigate, and you have bones, and then you find out when you really hear the stories, really dig deep, it's that there was still like remains of flesh in them. So this is nobody talks about it. We're all scared to talk about it, I guess. Maybe it's just because it's an off topic and nobody wants to say it. But the thing is, we all believe that there were people alive just recently there, giants alive right there recently, and they kept their distance. And we kept our distance, and nobody cared. They stayed there, we stayed here. But now, what the story has changed is now there's bullet holes and there's no more giants.
Like lots of bullet holes.
And now and now there's massive fires going through the Grand Canyon where these places are at, and they're directly. So all the conspiracy theories, it's making it pretty hard not to argue when the fires are directly where these places are at. Like that's where the fire started.
Wow.
So if there's That's pretty strange, and we're not allowed to go out there. We should,
I don't know
if
how
there
much
was that.
truth there
That's
is to this claim, bro. Like I've never even heard of temples found in the Grand
I
Canyon. I'm not saying
know,
it.
I
I'm not saying
know,
it's
and I
not
know,
true. I'm not saying it's
and once you start
false.
to, I'm not saying it's true or false. I'm saying from what I've lived 34 years, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person that's going to hear this. That's going to say, yeah, I heard that. Where's it coming from? And then
Yeah.
there's more to it. Like I've been down in the Grand Canyon, the base. The year
Yeah.
that this place was discovered, I was like 17 years old, so I'm 34, and I was out there with my cousins when they were
Mm.
the first people. We were out there. They were looking in the same places where they found these, and you can look this up. Tunnels in Grand Canyon lead
Mhm.
to Egypt, right? That's a discovery. That should be everybody should know that. But you might not know that. But that's an Arizona discovery.
So this connects to
We
giants because, like, you're saying they shot the giants and that's why they're not there, or like, did they find skeletons in the giant skeletons in these temples, or what? We lose you again? Okay, well, seeing how we're talking about the Grand Canyon until
yeah,
we get him.
okay,
Oh, there you are.
my bad. Okay.
Yeah, it is
So
bad.
yeah, sorry, I have some stuff I wrote down, so I'm just trying to stay on track with it.
It's all right.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull up this
So
actual
so
stuff.
so
Go
you
ahead.
were saying to the giants, when
Mm-hmm.
you look into this Grand Canyon thing, you're going to find that goes over to Egypt. And
Okay.
then what got me started on understanding that giants have to be real biblically is the old hieroglyph pictures, because they're mathematically correct by
Wait, hold on.
text.
Let me
And
let me just stop you for a sec. I'm just putting this together in my brain. You're saying that there's tunnels that go from
yeah,
the
under the
Grand
ocean,
Canyon all the way to Egypt?
under the ocean.
That's
And they have
insane.
air vents. They have really advanced air vents into them too, that where water pools and it
Oh,
shifts. Because I can make this crazy stuff up. I'm telling you,
not saying you made it
the
up. I'm
the
just
water
saying it's
moves
probably
now
not
in a
true.
natural flowing pattern, and that shifts natural air currents into these things all the way through.
I'm not saying
But
you made it
look,
up, bro. I'm just saying it sounds
well,
very
look, there's
unlikely.
the interesting part is there's newspaper. So newspapers. This is there's I feel like there's a big border between what newspapers are to human beings today. You have the internet where you can make up anything, and
Aha, that's
newspapers
evidence.
when it got printed out. I'm not saying they couldn't put nothing out they wanted to, but most of the time it was the truth to the best that they could put it out.
I wouldn't be so sure
And
about that.
well,
They're trying to
I get
sell
that. You're
those
right.
newspapers, right?
There's a truth there too. There's always another agenda, but I'm just
So I
saying,
want to go
well,
here, bro, and look at this underground stuff that we're talking about. I have it on screen. It'll help
yeah,
people.
yeah. Just catch up, and I just wanted to go where I'm going with it because,
Okay, well, we're on the topic of Grand Canyon right now. I personally don't believe there's tunnels that go all the way from the Grand Canyon to Egypt, but like I said, I don't
let's
know
find out.
everything that exists, so it could very well be true. It just seems very unlikely in my eyes,
I
but
know it is to me too. It is to me too. But these are the things, and they're there, and there's a lot of stuff to it. And just like we're looking up now to some of this, we know that before some of this stuff is fact, and all of a sudden it doesn't seem like it's fact. But I just think that's
Yeah.
because we're still establishing ourselves to the online committee. Realistically, the internet has just become a huge thing, so I don't think it's perfect yet.
Okay.
And I could be wrong on that too, but or maybe it's control or something, but I have no clue. I just think it could be a different issue than what's on the surface. Maybe nobody's talking about it.
So if this guy, if you're talking about something called the Mosasaurus, bro, no, it wasn't actually the size of a turd compared to a blue whale. Uh, it says the Mosasaurus could reach lengths up to 17 meters, 56 feet long.
Yep.
That's not even close to the size of a blue whale, bro. So sorry.
Wait, how big are blue whales?
Blue
Because I
whales
know
are
that
like,
I know they're big enough to eat sharks. I know mosasaurs. It was a common food was sharks for them. Great white sharks.
a
They
lot of
ate their
people don't.
sharks.
But I didn't. I had a hard time believing it too when I heard the biggest creature ever lived in the world is a blue whale and still living today. But it is, bro. A
Yeah, no,
blue
I
whale
know
can reach.
I know you proved this
A
one to me
blue
before.
whale
How
can
big
reach
is it?
sizes of over 100 feet long and almost 200 tons. They're
Oh
literally
yeah.
the biggest creature that ever lived, bigger than any dinosaur. So, but we're getting off topic here. I want to go back to the Grand Canyon thing.
Well, kind of. Still, we're talking about giants, so
We are
off
talking about
topic, but on
giants.
topic.
Yeah, I guess you're right. We're talking about giants. But I want to go back to like Nephilim kind of giants. So
Giants.
here's what we were talking about, guys. The underground stuff in the Grand Canyon. So the city full of giant skeletons discovered in the Grand Canyon. This is from like 5 years ago. I don't know how much truth there is to it, but it kind of plays into what Rex was talking about. So apparently in the early 20th century, chance led us to the gates of the underground city of giants, best known in those days. Okay, the underground city of giants is what it was called in those days. It was an amazing discovery in the Grand Canyon, and the press soon echoed. Let me zoom in a bit so you guys can see it a bit better. Sorry. The Grand Canyon. Oh, what's that, bro? Okay.
This is the first. Check this out. You're gonna love this. So you finish this. This is a good part. There's multiple tunnels they found, but this is the first one they
Okay.
found.
Okay.
There's two other ones when they found the big one.
I want to
The
go to the
third,
scripture too after this and talk about King Og and the Bible and his in the Deuteronomy and the actual measurements of his bed. So the Grand
Yeah.
Canyon was the birthplace of a culture in which people of cyclopean proportions existed, according to an article published in the Gazeta de Arizona on April 5th, 1909. Someone in the chat is saying this was a hoax and a fake, so that very well could be, bro. But I'm gonna finish reading it. Like I said at the beginning, I don't know if this is true or not. A civilization that only left some structures as a testimony of its existence. The article mentions the discovery of a huge subterranean citadel by an explorer named G.E. Kincaid, who accidentally found it while rafting on the Colorado River. It's worth mentioning that Kincaid was a recognized archaeologist and had the financial support of the Smithsonian Institution. According to their descriptions, the entrance to the mysterious city was at the end of a tunnel that extended for something more than 1,600 meters underground. Kincaid was impressed that the cavern was almost inaccessible. The entrance was about 450 meters under the wall of the steep canyon. The place was in a zone protected by the government, and the access was penalized under fine. Above a shelf that could not be seen from the river was the entrance to the cave. When I saw the chisel marks on the wall inside the entrance, I got interested. I got my gun and went in, Kincaid said. The architecture found suggested that the builders of that subterranean city possessed advanced engineering skills. This kind of sounds like what Rex was talking about. The central axis of the underground city made it a gigantic camera from which radiated passages. A gigantic camera? The central axis of the underground city made it a gigantic camera from which radiated passages similar to the radii of a wheel. The walls of the main chamber were adorned with copper weapons and tablets, covered with symbols and hieroglyphic characters very similar to those we know in Egypt. Did you drop out or something, bro? Oh, you drop out? I went to remove this other one so there's not two of you in here. You there? Okay, well, whatever.
Yep.
I can hear you rustling around. Okay, I'm going to finish reading this, guys. Again, I don't know if it's true, but it's interesting. So, it's talking about the walls were adorned with copper weapons and tablets covered with symbols and hieroglyph characters very similar to those we know in Egypt. Another interesting finding was the discovery of mummified bodies inside the citadel. None of the mummies found were less than 2.7 meters and were all wrapped in. Why do they talk about meters? Like, even I'm in Canada, we're supposed to use meters, and I don't. Everybody uses feet. Let's do the conversion right now. 2.75 meters to feet. Okay, that's 9 feet tall. It'd be so much easier if they just used feet to begin with. So apparently in this cave, adorned with copper and hieroglyphs and copper weapons, none of the mummies found were less than 9 feet tall, and all were wrapped in dark linen. Kincaid, this explorer guy who's down there, who found it, said he'd taken photographs of one of them with a flashlight. Say a flashlight, he's taking a picture. However, none of these photos were found. Okay. That doesn't sound like very credible. Further explorations revealed interesting data on the beliefs of these alleged giants of the city. More than 30 meters from the entrance is a room with a cross-shaped plant several tens of meters long, and where an idol was found that could have been the main god of his religious system. He was sitting cross-legged and with a lotus or lily flower in each hand. Weird. His face had oriental features as well as the carving of the cave. The idol had a certain resemblance to Buddha, although the scientists of the time did not finish assuring that it represented that religious cult. I don't know why he's saying a cult. The article also talks about the discovery of ceramics and other artifacts with trademarks having been manufactured in other parts of the world. Perhaps a rare mixture of cultures that scarcely occurs in archaeological finds, so this discovery would be of unprecedented importance. The last camera they found on the exploration was what Cankard and his partner, Professor S.A. Jordan, a ceremonial crypt believed to be at the end of the Great Hall where they found the mummies. Unfortunately, the article does not give many more details about this discovery, nor are there any official versions or references to this enigmatic subterranean city. The Smithsonian Institute denies having knowledge of the existence of this underground city. Well, there you have it, folks. I don't know what y'all think of that, but
now that's one of three, and this guy said that first one's fake, but I think he was probably talking about the third one I was talking about.
It's quite weird. It
but,
sounds a lot like what Rex was talking about. Again, it's hard.
Yeah, there's
to
a
know
lot.
Now. Yeah, it's hard to tell now, especially nowadays, what's real and what's fake. You know,
but this is the thing. No. Why was everybody making? Okay, if these people aren't even from Arizona, why would they be? I'm just saying, all these stories are us. There's nobody out here to be gossiping about it.
What do you mean?
Like we're in the middle. We're like in the middle of nowhere. Like
who are you talking about that would be making this stuff up? Your friends in Arizona, the people you know in Arizona.
Check it out. This is we're right here. Look, this is what Arizona looks like, dude.
Hold on.
It's just darkness.
Let me make it bigger so people can see you specifically. Old Rex. No. Get back here. Here. Okay. Show us, Rex. Show us your surroundings.
There's a black
there. There's your RV. Yeah, don't you live like in the middle of a desert in Arizona?
All Arizona is a desert, Nick.
I know, but there's all of towns, obviously.
Yeah, and I live in a town. This is what it looks like.
I thought you lived like out in the wilderness desert, like away from the town.
I live in Globe, Arizona. Say hello to Globe, Arizona. This place, I tell you, that's horrible.
I already told you that you live so close to Skinwalker Ranch. You said you got these cows.
I know, it's so scary.
Go investigate that.
Oh yeah, I said you got to come with me, or I got to have a guy. I'm not going by myself. I don't care even if you're like. Country, dude. Just because I look like Mike Tyson doesn't mean I'm as brave as the guy, man. I'm not going to go fight a creature that does what that. I don't even know what it is. It doesn't even make sense to me, and I try to argue everything.
It'd be different if I lived in your country or like in your state, but I live in a completely different country than you. I can't just get in a car and be like, "Yeah, I'll be there in a couple hours. Let's go exploring." But
I'm gonna go see Skinwalkers. Everybody, let's go.
You get a lot of views. You look like the type of guy that's built for that kind of stuff. But anyway,
yeah, I am. That's what I live for. But even then, I'm just saying, I would not go be playing with no Skinwalkers. The stories, if you hear the stories,
the ranch.
I feel
Skinwalker Ranch.
That's true.
Okay,
but even then, I'm just saying, it's an intimidating topic because you know how things are censored. The stories that we hear.
Giants, all right? Giants, not Skinwalkers. Yeah. We can do Skinwalkers another day. So
cool.
I want to go into that scripture now, guys, in Deuteronomy, where it gives us the measurements. Because when I started this, I really wanted to try pull as much evidence from biblical sources as possible. So let's go to Deuteronomy, and this is where it talks about the actual size of King Og. So I'll start at chapter 3, verse 1. It says, "Then we turned and went up the road to Bashan. And Og, king of Bashan, with all his people, came out to meet us in battle at Edrei. But Yahweh said to me, 'Do not fear him, for I have given him and all his people and his land over into your hand. And you shall do to him just as you did to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who lived at Heshbon. So Yahweh our God also gave Og, king of Bashan, with all his people, over into our hand, and we struck them until there were no survivor remaining for him. And we captured all his cities at the time. There was not a town which we did not take from them. 60 cities, all the region of Argob, the kingdom of Og in Bashan. All these were cities fortified with high walls, gates, and bars, besides a great many unwalled towns. So a lot of them were fortified with gates and bars, and there are a lot that weren't. And we devoted them to destruction, as we did to Sihon, king of Heshbon, devoting to destruction. The men, women, and little ones of every city. That's pretty harsh. But all the animals and the spoil of the cities we took as our plunder. There's a lot of harsh stuff in the Old Testament that is really hard to come to terms with. But once you find out what these people did to the Israelites and how evil they were, and the human sacrifices and all the stuff that they did, and how many years God gave these people to repent, starts to make a little more sense. But when I read verses like, we destroyed the men, women, and little ones of every city, it doesn't sit that well with me, right? As it shouldn't with most people. But I mean, God is God, and he does what he wants. And I'm okay with that because he's my God and my king, and he created me. So what can you say, right? But all the animals and the spoil of the cities we took as our plunder. So here it's going to get into like how tall this King Og guy was. So thus we took the land at the time from the hand of the two kings of the Amorites. We were beyond the Jordan, from the valley of Arnon to Mount Hermon. All the cities of the plateau, and all Gilead and all Bashan, as far as Silkah and Edrei, cities of the kingdom of Og in Bashan. Here, I think we get into the measurements of this guy's bed. So lets you know that King Og was a giant. So it says, for only Og, king of Bashan, remained of the remnant of the Rephaim. Behold, his bedstead was an iron bedstead, made out of iron. It is in Rabbah of the sons of Ammon. Its length was 9 cubits, and its width was 4 cubits by ordinary cubits. So here, I think it tells you 9 cubits. Approximately 14 feet long and 6 feet wide, bro. So there you have it. King Og's bed was 14 feet long and 6 feet wide.
I claim the giants are 13 feet, and that makes them fit right inside of those coffins perfectly, because they got to be a little bit smaller to fit for the inner dimensions of it.
Yeah, he was big. And that's why I brought up all these scriptures. The next one, it will tell us the height of Goliath from David and Goliath. So what were we talking about? We did the Grand Canyon. We did the Lovelock Caves.
We gotta do Egypt. Egypt talks about giants. It does. It shows in all their hieroglyphs. We got to go down that one. And
okay. Well, not
the Mayans.
Not if I'm not going to start looking for random giants and stories all over the internet. I'm going to go to the ones we know. Like I did a video, remember, years ago with the giants of Kandahar, the giant of Kandahar. Let's do that story. I could just pull up my video from, a few years ago and play it.
That guy that just went missing in Canada for the videos of giants for recording.
That was like years ago.
But that was more recent than a couple thousand years ago, giants.
Yeah. But this wasn't a couple thousand years ago, the giant of Kandahar.
I know that one is recent too. I was just trying to throw recent ones. That one too is a recent.
I'm talking about the only reason we're doing this the thousands of years ago is the Bible. It's telling us, like, the Bible literally, we started off with where these giants came from, right? They're the offspring of fallen angels that mated with human women, and they created these Nephilim. So that's why I bring that up. Now, I got to go into my videos here. So if you want to talk for a sec while I'm finding this video, I'd like to just play the video I did of the giant of Kandahar. A lot easier than me retelling the story. You can go ahead if you got anything you want to say.
I'm currently taking my best friend to work right now. So
Oh, okay. Is
focusing
she
on
a giant?
driving as my main priority, as all people should.
Is she a giant, bro? Is she a giant?
Is she? No, I'm a giant. I'm 6'4". That's another
Okay.
interesting fact.
Just
I'm
so
6'4".
stay on
Did you know
topic
that
of the
2% of the
giants.
world's population is 6'4"? No, seriously, says stay on topic. Did you know that 2% of the world's population is says 6'4" at one time, like at one given time? So like we're in 2025, but only 2% of the population is 6'4" or above. And so that's a
Yeah,
very
I
interesting
guess.
fact.
I didn't know if it was 2%. There's a lot of people in the world, dude. There's some of these people in like Somalia and
I know.
Africa are super tall.
It's true, but there's more people in China and in Mexico and some of these other countries with smaller people that overtopple the rest of the population,
Yeah.
given that number. It's a statistic, doesn't make it true. Science, and the great thing about science is that new facts, old facts die all the time as new facts are discovered. And so it's a constant evolving state where we're always learning.
Cool, cool.
Other cool things about the Giants. So we're talking about the ones, I know you don't want to go too far, and since we're not going to go look it all up, I'll just give you some information. The Egyptian, if you go to any of the Egyptian hieroglyphs, right, and we're talking about these meter systems and these cubit systems, I've done all of it. That's how I got all these numbers at one point. I don't have it memorized. It's a lot. That's why you have to do it too, because it's a lot. You see it. But what I did realize is that it seemed that the Nephilim, these ones from Reno, are these 13-foot beings, and these are the ones that have the double sets of teeth, the extra finger and toe,
Mm-hmm.
and then the thing are 9-foot beings, and you'll see a lot of stuff about these 9-foot beings. Those are so it's the Nephilim are the Nevada ones, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
they find the humans that are the 5'10s, and then they have these 9-foot beings, this being that's right in the middle. And that's what I'm pretty sure if anybody's really interested in looking at those facts, you'll be like, wow, this is pretty good. I've been looking at the stuff for, I have. You've been pushing me on it for a while to learn it and get more on it all the time. So starting to find those things out interests me even more to always dig deeper. I was so excited. You said use Giant Night, and I was like, man, all this stuff I've gathered since the last time we did a video.
Okay, I found it, Rex, and it's not private, it's public, so I don't know why you're having such a hard time finding this.
Send me a link to it or something. Maybe it's something on their side, or maybe it's just something on the internet side. Maybe it's
Okay, I'll
mine.
send you a link right now. I'll drop it in the private chat.
Should drop it in the chat for everybody. We did a few years back an
Okay,
awesome show on giants, and
here
you
you
guys want to
go.
see some more stuff and
It's
see
in the
part
chat
2
right
of the
there.
past. Cool, that's a good
Okay,
one to
I
have
will
in the
play
chat.
this for everyone. Not all, I don't have to play all of it, but you guys will get the gist of it, and then I don't have to repeat the story to those of you that haven't heard it. You know, L.A., Missouri. He's a pretty popular guy in this field. He literally took so much stuff from my video and used it in his own video. Like, if I wanted to be a prick, I could have copyright striked him, but because back in the day I used to get like between 50 and 200,000 views in the first day or two on my videos, back before YouTube had all these policy guideline changes and demonetized me. Like about 5 years ago, I used to get hundreds of thousands of views of videos, way more popular. So that LA, Missouri guy like used like all this stuff for my video without asking, but I'm not a prick, so I didn't do anything. But anyway, here it is a video that I did a while ago, and if you guys haven't heard the story, it's a great story. All these special forces guys in the U.S. military, they swear like on their lives that this actually happened and it was real. So let's check it out.
There was a story back in 2002
Hopefully you guys can hear it okay. It's about as loud as it gets.
about a military group in Afghanistan. One guy was killed. They came across like a 12 or 15 foot tall giant in a cave in Afghanistan, and it's pretty crazy. So anyway, I'll let you guys watch. In the video I've included an actual interview of the special forces officer that actually took the giant down and made the killing shot. So yeah, enjoy, guys. It's one of the most bizarre stories to come out of America's longest war. An allegation: United States Special Forces engaged and killed a giant in Afghanistan. but it's being reported by multiple sources. Several eyewitnesses claim the battle not only took the life of an American soldier, but that the government flew the huge corpse of the attacker back to the United States. Reporter and researcher L.A. Marzulli, who some of you may have heard of, explored the spectacular charge. These creatures were the offspring of the sons of God, the angels and the daughters of men. In Genesis chapter 6 and Numbers chapter 13 verses 33, the Bible speaks of giants populating the earth. When ordinary people saw them, they said, "We were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight." A strange passage, but one Marzulli contends is backed by evidence. What's more, these giants didn't just exist in biblical times, but live on through the present day. This soldier testified there were rumors at his base in Afghanistan.
Man, I was so amateur back then. Listen to how high my background noise is compared to the. I should redo this video.
About the engagement with what became known as the Giant of Kandahar. We started hearing a rumor about a unit that killed what they were calling a really tall person, he told Marzulli. At first, I didn't think anything of it. I come to find out that the person they killed was actually 3 times the size of a man, had extra digits on their hands and on their feet, and he had red hair, says the soldier. He goes on to say, a special unit had come and wanted this target. We'd heard they'd killed this thing inside a cave or the mouth of a cave. Another operator who spoke to Marzulli said those in power have a vested interest in keeping the story covered up. If it points to the Bible's narrative being accurate, they don't want it, he said. If it goes against Darwinian evolution, it's not to be spoken of. In the summer of 2016, several personalities and websites began claiming that an American Special Forces soldier serving in Kandahar, Afghanistan, was killed in 2002 by an 1,100-pound, blade-wielding, 12 to 15-foot tall giant from Old Testament times, before the giant himself was taken down by the military. A Department of Defense spokesman stated they have no record of such an incident. We do not have any record or information about a Special Forces member killed by a giant in Kandahar. Marzulli makes the case that the giant was a Nephilim, or Nephilim, however you want to pronounce it, which were described in the book of Genesis.
Okay, we don't have to watch it all. It's really funny listening to my amateur video editing skill back then. My music and sound effects is so loud compared to the talking. But that's the story. There's a real group of Special Forces people. I'll fast forward to the interview between Marzulli and the Special Forces soldier. But in a nutshell, guys, that's what happened. There was a group of Special Forces fighters in Kandahar, Afghanistan that went out on a special mission. They came across this really gross smelling cave. And it's funny, you always hear the same tale of whenever someone apparently approaches one of these Nephilim or these giants. They always have a really strong odor, and they always have 6 fingers or 6 toes. And they always have red hair. And yeah, I agree with you. We were talking about that at the beginning of the show. Like, you would think the flood would have taken them all out. That's why this is kind of a controversial topic, right? Because there was supposed to be a flood that wiped out everything. And I mean, in theory, like, there could possibly be something that survived, and that would basically would have to be the case to have these Nephilim exist. And I mean, say what you will, right? Or however the Bible was worded, there's definitely a lot of stories and a lot of cases of these giants with extra fingers and extra toes and red hair that have been spotted all over the world, and caves with skeletal remains spotted all over the world, which that could still be okay if they were taken out by the flood. But yeah, there's a lot of recent run-in stories with them, and so take it at face value if you want. Anyway, that's what happened.
And then I got another one too that brings this giant stuff on. The
Hold
Hopi.
up, I'm almost done. So they were out on a Special Forces mission, right? They came across this stinky cave. This giant came out all mad with this big spear, instantly skewed one of the soldiers, killed him. And then apparently the rest of them had their machine guns, and like they were all pointing and dumping at this thing, fully automatic, for like 3 seconds before it fell down. It took like 5 guys dumping on fully auto with their MR14s for like 3 seconds before this thing fell down. That's a lot of bullets in 3 seconds that you can pump out. So I just wanted to wrap this up real quick, Rex, before you jumped in and got me off the thing. So that's about all I wanted to say about that. And then they got the dead body. They took it back secretly in one of those big Herc helicopters in a net and dragged it off somewhere. Here, do you want to say something quickly? Because the interview of the soldier that apparently was involved is right here. So
you're covering most of the good topics on it.
Okay, so
you know
it's
the
right
story
here,
just as
right
well as
here.
I do. You know this one.
I just want to show. Well, yeah, this is my video. I just want to show the interview real quick.
Okay, guys, so here's the interview with L.A. Mazzilli, or whatever his name is, and the alleged Special Forces officer that shot the giant. I may have to pause the interview now and then just so we can kind of analyze the video together so I don't get hit with a copyright, but I'll try and keep it short and sweet.
You were in Afghanistan in 2002, and you were called into a very remote section of Afghanistan because a patrol had basically gone missing.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
no
Well,
villages
just around nothing.
for miles.
Right.
So it's very remote.
Yeah, very remote. So we flew in. Did about 4 kilometers. We're hiking through the same area where they were supposed to make one of their checkpoints, one of their rally points. And before we left, there was.
See that? That's from my video. This is part of his interview from Missouri's video. That's my clip and my footage from my video. You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
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 all kinds of what.
This is really weird, but that looks like my clip from the beginning of my video. Does it not? Is that not the same clip? Is LA Missouri really copyrighting me?
Never-ending chain reaction. In
just
another
said,
few years, we're gonna come back to this one. We're gonna do that
Isn't
again.
that funny though?
Like
I just said that now, and then I said the same thing in the video years ago. I was like, isn't that my clip? That's so funny. Yeah.
Funny.
Is that copyright
No,
strike
seriously,
this guy or
it's
what?
crazy. It's crazy
I
how we
just
get
noticed
struck
that.
for anything and everything half the time these days, and then people take our stuff, and it's like,
I'm not a prick though. I'm not going to copyright strike the guy because I'm taking footage from his to show the interview that he did.
That clip there is like from my video. I could be wrong, but I mean, Afghanistan all looks the same.
Because we just seen it.
That kind of looks like the clip from the beginning of my video.
Anyway,
Happened with an ambush, but that was even odd because at the point of ambush, he was called for maybe close air support, something. Okay, there was no calls made. Just off.
Hey, sorry to stop it again so soon, but that was the clip from my video. It's the exact.
Nice path, a mountainside.
It's the exact same clip.
Off the bridge. So we're coming down a mountainside, and it was a nice path, goat path. As we bent around this corner, you could see this opening of the cave. There's a cave as we're coming around. And then I see there's a lot of rocks, which is another oddity, and then bone matter. When I'm not close enough to identify what kind of bones, but I did see
I don't
something
remember
I
that
knew
part.
was a piece of our communications equipment. So instantly, we're thinking ambush, maybe animal, could be anything. And there was enough room in front of this cave, but it had a sheer drop off. But there was enough room that we actually got into a decent dispersal in case of ambush.
You see something coming out of the cave, and it's moving with a speed and agility that catches you off guard.
Everybody. And he comes out. It was a man at least 12 to 15 feet. This
At least 12 feet, he said.
Red beard.
I know he
and
said
his
12
hair
or 15,
was
but he
long
said 12.
past the shoulder.
12 to
Scarlet
15.
red. And Dan runs at him and starts shooting. Broke all of us into the reality. Because it was
So
surreal.
now your training is kicking in.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Muscle memory. Complete muscle memory. While Dan is moving at him, another bro of mine's laying down fire, and I start firing. He skewers Dan.
Ooh, there goes Dan.
He's now got him on this pike. It went through him. He's still got him, and he's coming after more. We all just clicked in. I don't know what it was, but I remember we're all like, shoot him in the face, shoot him in the face. And our weapons components were M4s. We had 308s, and we had Barrett 50s. This is sounding longer than it took. We're talking 30 seconds.
I thought it was 3
He's
seconds.
taking multiple
No, I
hits.
thought it was 30
So
seconds,
what do you
but it was
guys
your
think so
thing.
far?
I
He
wasn't going to
sounds
argue.
pretty
And
legit.
I've been wrong. It's been a long
Doesn't
time.
sound like he's
I thought it was
lying,
30
but it
seconds.
could, you never
I thought it
know.
was like an
still
extremely
moving.
outrageous amount.
He talked about this giant being 1,100 pounds, anywhere from 10 to 15 feet long,
I could take him.
and it was
My
killed. It
stupid
was
little
apparently
fucking
shot
things I threw in back then.
somewhere in a cave in
I'm
Afghanistan.
like, ooh, there goes Dan.
But before it
I
was
could take him.
shot, it lunged at several of our troops, our soldiers. It may have even gorged somebody. It was just a bizarre story, and it just sounds like the Nephilim from the Bible, doesn't it?
That's why we're so fascinated by this.
Dan was dead. Okay. And why is a good man, probably one of the best men I know, now dead.
Because he got impaled with a giant pike.
Before I'd left, they were already starting what they call a 9-line, which is a medevac request. They're sending out a medevac request, then all of a sudden it's not a medevac request. All of a sudden we had a helicopter show up because, like I told you, it was a large precipice and a sheer drop. So the helicopter just came up from the drop. They had dropped netting, which is like cargo netting. It's like squares. We were told we had to bundle him up. And we get another bigger helicopter, but it's almost like a Jolly Green Giant used to look back in the day. They could get, through this area. Because the mountains, you got to remember, Chinooks could only go in certain places because they had enough lift. Mm-hmm. And so we got him on there. The thing was too big. We couldn't move it. It smelled worse than a skunk. A corpse that's been around for a while.
Really fell.
Oh, it was like a combination because of the, how do you put that, the persistence of a skunk smell. But once the helicopter came in, dropped its little hook, and off he goes. The communication was sent out that we had a very
John
large,
smoked a lot of marijuana.
hostile human creature.
There you are in the hills of Afghanistan. How many troop members are you with?
We had 6 on my crew.
Coast to Coast AM, that was a sweet show. Remember Art Bell used to do.
Into the wilderness, we actually flew into a base. I guess this thing
I love Art Bell. He was one of my heroes.
Yeah, he passed away a while ago, but this guy took over for him.
Fingers. I remember taking my foot
Saddest
up,
thing ever. Saddest day in history.
foot, and it was extremely large.
Saddest day in
We estimated
history.
it at about 12 feet. give
The
or
guy
take.
that told everybody
What I can
midnight
tell you
stories
is
of
the weight
bedtime stories.
of the thing,
Yeah,
basically,
it
it
was
was
cool.
approximately 1,500 pounds when it was getting on the aircraft. Now, if you take away the pallet weight and all the rigging that we had to hold this thing down, we figured it was around 1,100 pounds.
Wow.
Wow, 1,100 pounds. Hey guys, that's one
He's an
big
elephant,
boy.
man.
That's crazy. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. You think it's a Nephilim or a Nephilim, or you think there's any credibility to this story?
Of course we're upset. That's a given. Okay. We lost a very good guy.
And that goes for all you guys too watching tonight, man. Let us know in the comments what you think about this story. I'm interested to know.
Before you go too far, pause it one more second. I just want to bring this up. It's talking about these 13-foot beings. Your old video we talked about, I told you that when I had gone to Lovelock, they had said that the museums had come and taken the larger skeletons of the 13-foot beings and left them with the smaller ones, but a couple of the skulls and stuff to show you. But then when you look at that and they're like, this guy is like, was that the Nephilim? What if these were the Nephilim? What if literally these beings are the Nephilim? We're overlooking it, and
Which
just
ones?
like even these Kandaharian ones.
Yeah, they are. That's the whole theory. This giant here.
Yeah, I know, but what if those the Nevada ones were too? They had red hair as well.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying all night, bro. That's what the video.
But okay, so now remember my trail. how did these giants get from here to over there if they didn't go to this magic trail that's not being talked about in the Grand Canyon? But when you look it up,
Because
there's a lot of people know about it.
They were all over
They
the
went.
world. Maybe they got dispersed with the flood. I don't know. It was a worldwide flood, remember? And
Well,
to
maybe it's a
answer this
possibility they
person's
were using these
question,
tunnels.
I don't know. Honestly, to answer this guy's question, or female or whoever, dude, girl, sorry, don't know what your sex is, but you would think the flood would take them out. He wants to know my theory or our theory. Like, I don't know, bro. It's either like the wording of the Bible, like I believe all the stuff that happened in the Bible's true. I believe in God, but I don't really believe that every single letter and comma in the Bible is exactly accurate, because if you know about the history of the copyists and how these manuscripts were copied, like paper was really expensive back then. So like there was no spaces in between letters or words. They would try and fit as much as they could on one piece of paper. So people would write in Greek all these letters and words squished right together, no spaces, no commas, no nothing. And then the copyists had to come by candlelight and in the day, right, candlelight at night, and copy this, painstakingly copy these manuscripts over and over and over. So maybe one of the copies got it wrong. I don't know. Maybe the flood wasn't like, I don't know, like obviously was, it describes it as a flood that's supposed to take out everything because he saw the world was all evil and wanted to do like a reset. But my theory, like if I had to say, was obviously some of these things survived somehow. If not, then the only alternative would be like all these people, like this interview you're just watching and all these stories that you've heard tonight are just all made up and false, right? So I mean, I guess, like, I don't have all the answers, but me personally, I would say some of them survived somehow. That's the only explanation I can see.
My theory to how they survived is these big structures we're starting to see underneath these pyramids and temples. I think when the flood happened, I think they knew,
Okay,
and I
that's
think they got
interesting.
down in, and I think they got down in them. And when the flood happened,
I
that's
also
all it
heard
was for.
gingers were soulless. I don't know if that's true. This kid says gingers also have the most cases of natural giganticism. That's true, but
I
they
know.
don't.
I know a lot of gingers, and they're actually some of the sweetest people I
Well, even
know.
if that's true,
But they do got a fire in them. There's a fire in gingers
even if it's
that
true, they
is
don't get
known
to be like
by all.
1,100 pounds, right? They don't get to be 15,
Yeah.
1,100 pounds.
I don't know any giant. I barely know any giant. Like I said, I'm 6'4". I'm probably one of the taller people I know out here, and I know I went all the way to Reno. I know there's a
So
few people taller than me, but
I don't know what's your theory there, Mr. Topic, or whatever you call yourself. There's only a bit left in this. I don't think we have to play the whole video, but let's hear the rest of
what would
this.
your theory be, Nick? We
I
talk
just
about
said
this
it.
a lot. How they survived?
Yeah, I literally just said what my theory was.
Oh my bad, I just put my mic down. What'd you
It
say?
was the only possible. I said either all these people that we've showed, or all the stuff we read tonight, and all these people that, and like the guy it's showing now, are all lying, and this never happened, or they somehow, some of these Nephilim survived the flood. So that's
Yeah. I get that, but I want to know what your theory is on how they could have survived. Well, if there's a we're just theorizing.
the soulless ginger.
Mine was that they bunkered down underneath these bases. Are you going with that? Does that sound good, or you got your own idea?
Look at this guy. He's like, I'm standing right next to a ginger. LOL. He got pissed off and sack at your comment because I made a joke and I said soulless ginger. And then he's like, so yeah, they're hot headed because you said they got the fire in them.
Oh yeah, no, they do. I know a lot of them.
No hard
I have a lot of
feelings
friends
to
with
the ginger.
gingers. They're, like I say, biggest hearts, biggest fires. It's
I was
crazy.
just joking, bro. No hard feelings, obviously. I don't
I love gingers.
think that
They're
gingers are
unique.
soulless. I wouldn't say I love gingers more than any other race.
I don't know, man. I'm not saying I said that either, but I love. They're one of my favorite. If there was races, gingers got to be racing. That is awesome.
I don't know. I don't think.
They'd be the Fire Nation. If Avatar was a real thing, they would definitely be our
To
fire.
be honest,
our
if
Fire
I could
Nation
choose,
people.
if I could choose to have red hair and freckles or not, I think I'd have to go with the latter. But
You could be famous. You could be famous. You're already famous. But you'd be more famous being that
I'm not
gingered
famous,
freckle
bro.
kid.
Let's finish this guy's interview.
Add to that, you're discussing something that even in our after action report, they're saying rewrite it. And we had to rewrite it the way they wanted.
How many fingers?
Six
fingers,
toes.
6 toes.
And the nails were weird because
Hear that, dude? 6 fingers and 6 toes. Boom. Crazy.
if you see somebody that ever has, I don't know what it's called, but it's
Like a fungus on
the nails, how they get pointy and they're like gnarly.
Crazy.
That's what they look like.
Have a right to know about this stuff. I mean, if there are 15-footers or 18-footers roaming the planet.
I know you just love this guy building up the hype, L.A. Missouri.
What are your thoughts on that?
He was talking about the fingernails on those guys too. Pay attention to that. He described that their fingernails, their fingers didn't look like human fingers, like flat.
I know.
They're carved down like an animal. Yeah, pointing like pretty much like a demon.
Me talking, and that was me from the old clip saying, "Oh, buddy, building up the hype," because they went from being like 12 to something feet. Now he's saying 18 feet. He's like, if these 15 or 18 footers are out there, he's just like adding feet as he goes.
Here's my personal opinion. My personal opinion is if
Mr. D, Special Ops.
points that the Bible's accurate, they don't want it. If it goes against Darwinian evolution, it's not to be spoken of.
Right. Added that in. A little too long. So editing skill was not superb back
in the
then.
boonies running around looking for high-value targets.
Correct. Okay. And we're doing those operations, and as we're getting into firefights, we're getting into different scrimmages, you want to put it that way, we would come back to the base, and we started hearing this rumor about a unit that killed this, what they started calling this really tall person. At first, I didn't think anything of it, and then come to find out that the person that they killed actually was 3 times the size of a man, had extra digits on their hand and digits on their feet, and had red hair, and a special unit had come in and wanted this target. Well, we'd heard that they had killed this thing inside a cave, or the mouth of a cave, and it was common knowledge among the military to hear this.
And when you say common knowledge, what do you mean? I mean, how does that work?
Years later, to come to find out, when I had returned from Afghanistan and had met other military members that had not been there in the operations with me, if you would bring up the giant of Kandahar, they knew about it. When you first hear it, you're thinking like, this has got to be a joke. This has got to be a hoax. And then after things go down a certain way and you keep hearing it, you start to realize it's not a joke. They kept telling us to keep our weapons high, which means normally it's 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, but they kept telling us to put it towards a man's head and put it higher. So we would question, why do they want us to shoot higher than a man's head?
That's bizarre.
It is.
Our contact said 2002 is when they shot this 15-footer or taller, and you're now in this, in the service around 2005. This word has gotten out, and what I find interesting here too is that if you're going to create a hoax, I get that, but you got details: 6 fingers, red hair, double rows of teeth, 6 digits on the toes, and of course that brings it right back into what we hear about in the biblical prophetic narrative, specifically the Nephilim. Your thoughts?
I agree. I would tell you that when I was doing my time in the service, and the stuff I saw, some of it I couldn't explain, like lights in the sky during firefights, like orbs, or lights that would be the size of a softball that looked that size, looking up in the sky but making weird noises. And even going to Iraq myself and being near Haditha Dam and seeing the prisoners underneath the dam, and the prisoners would scream, and there'd be this awful feeling underneath the dam, and then later finding out in the Bible that an angel's locked underneath there, it talks about.
And this Haditha Dam is the Euphrates.
Is Euphrates,
and there's an angel supposedly locked underneath the Euphrates,
correct,
which is released in the book of Revelation.
Correct.
Yeah, I've released the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates, and the 4 angels who have been kept ready for this very hour and day, month and year were released to kill 1/3 of mankind. that is crazy, and that was really cool, man. It's awesome that you guys stuck around and seen that. That was a video that I made years ago. I wanted to show it to you guys instead of just telling you the story. So I really quickly want to get into this quick little verse about the measurement of Goliath from David and Goliath, one of the most famous biblical stories about giants. So, but Saul and the men, this is from 1 Samuel chapter 17, starting at verse 2. But Saul and the men of Israel were gathered and camped in the valley of Elah and arranged themselves for battle to meet the Philistines. Now the Philistines stood on the mountain on one side, while Israel stood on the mountain on the other side, with the valley between them. Then a champion came out from the camps of the Philistines named Goliath from Goth, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. So a span is about 9 inches, and 6 cubits is 9 feet. So this guy was like 9 feet and 6 inches tall. That's a big dude. So yeah, giants are definitely biblical. That's we did Genesis 6, we did 1 Samuel.
Remember, hey, it says giants are 9 feet tall. Nephilim are 13 foot tall. Titans are 50 foot tall. Roger from Mud Fossil University could possibly be right if Titans and those mathematics are correct. If there was a flood and they killed.
Where does it say that? We're talking about giants.
I know. 9 feet.
Nephilim being giants, right? Nephilim
Well,
are.
it says well, Nephilim are the half, and then they have the children between human and those are the giants. Giants are this middle bridge. You have to realize Nephilim came down, and they bred with humans.
Nephilim didn't come down. No, angels came down.
Well, that's what they call the Nephilim.
Angels
the fallen
came
ones.
down. No, they don't. They call demons fallen angels. They came down and they bred with women and created Nephilim. That's how it goes.
Well, I see the whole. When I'm doing the research out here on the field, there's 9 feet, and I'm calling those guys the giants because they just are us. They're giant us. Listen, the reason why I'm saying giants, they would be giant humans. They have
Because
5
they
fingers,
bred with human
5
women.
toes, and then the Nephilim are 13-foot tall beings. These guys have 6 feet or 6 toes, 6 fingers on each hand, and extra sets of teeth, orange, and they carry the characteristics of not having our colors, but it's a blue gray. I know there's no terminology for it yet, or what maybe there is, but I'm still discovering it. Like I said, giant is these anywhere from 6'4" on to 9 feet. And that's if you go look up what is giant, it's gonna say like 8 feet, but it's 9 feet because they have 9 feet bodies, so it'd have to be that. Okay. And then all these coffins. Now this is the thing, these tombs that are 13 feet, they fit these 12 foot or 14 feet, they fit these 13-foot beings in there. These are what people were praising, saying that they were godlike beings, and they were doing all this stuff to. These were these beings, whether Nephilim. And I'm a conspiratist too, so I go down this like maybe it is an alien thing and we haven't figured it out in our race, but that could be the thing. But it does talk about these beings a lot in like power that we didn't have. It talks about a whole bunch, man. I love giants. There's so much that goes with this. It's an unending topic. Yeah, but I want to stay kind of still stuck to where we're going, and that's going to be with the Hopi. I just want to tell you this one real quick. The Hopi out here believe that before the flood. Now, I think I did this one on one of your channels one time, and you're like, I can't find stuff. And I was like, well, this is because this is what these personal people will tell you. Like, they don't go, the Apaches don't go up onto the internet. The natives don't just go out here. They don't just go play on the internet. They're still set in old ways. And out where I'm at, it's like 80 years in the past already. The natives are probably still 100 years behind that. Okay, so they don't really get up on the internet. Okay, so now under just having that mindset, they believe during the flood that there was giants, and the Hopi talk about this. I've asked these guys, like one of the main chiefs out there that was out here during one of these events out here, and he was saying that the flood happened, and when that happened, that before that the giants were smart, very smart. They were so smart that they were what pretty much was the rulers. They were the land, the people of the land, right? And the humans had to stay in the dirt. That was what they were told to do. That's why. So that the Hopi believed they survived the flood because they were in the ground and came out after the Great Flood. Oh, here's 1 second.
Interesting. Hey, guys, remember to check out the links in the video description below. Join the Discord. Love to see you in there. And then if you ever have ideas for shows or like topics you want to see, let me know. And also consider becoming a channel member. It really helps support the channel, little channels like me. I'm pretty sure you can become one for like $1 or $2 a month, and you get a free super chat every month. So that would be cool. And yeah, I'm really glad to have you guys. Make sure you leave a comment. Let me know how you like the show or how we can improve it. Give it a like. And as Rex, what were you saying, bro? Because I want to get wrapping her up here. It was a good show.
Okay, so what I was going with it is, as the flood happened, the Hopi believed that they were like very advanced. The flood happened, and then afterwards, they believed that the world had like got a reset, okay, from that knowledge, that power. And the Nephilim that survived did not know nothing. They had no schooling, no teachings, no parents, and they became from this advanced race of giants or Nephilim to this primitive, dumb race that they ended up having to run into these mountains to kill. And they back up the same story about having to run their giants into the hills and the caves and burn them too. So I think that's coincidental that all these states are like attached, and then they got this secret story about these giants that they all took to the mountains and burnt. And they did it before the settlers came over here, right before the settlers came here.
Gotcha.
Like they were breaking their own oppression from the giants, and then the settlers showed up here and nobody knew about it. That's what the story seems to come from. Because they weren't having the fights with the cowboys yet in the West. There's none of that. Nothing talks about the settlement. We never see nothing about the settlement or the Westerners here. Yeah, and that's because the natives always say it was before. It was right after the flood, and then after they started like developing on the land, they started having this like constant problem with the giants. There was nothing they could do to stop them, and that's why they had to lure them into the caves for the fires. And I just think it's coincidental from that story from Nevada, and actually California to Mount Shasta. So that's the very coast, all the way across mid-state, and the stories about them in Texas too. There's look up Utah giants.
There's stories about them all over the world, bro.
I know, but when you're going in a direction, you can almost get like a ruler and set that down and start drawing a path. And it's like where it is located in the mass is in this long. So you ever hear about the old equator theory, that the equator used to shift in a different path, and they believe all the beings used to live on a different equator? That's the same line. So you follow that line, that takes you to the Grand Canyon, that takes you over to Egypt, that takes you to that same path that they say that goes underneath the ocean. All of this, but it's all involved with giants. So maybe the world before the flood was controlled by giants, and just somehow they survived, and somehow we got lucky enough to survive. And
okay, well, thanks, man, for coming. It's always interesting, and you shared a lot of knowledge about giants, so that's awesome, bro. Thanks for coming on. And I do think it's a sign of the end times topic. I think the more we see demons and Nephilim and all these giants and stuff, I think it's just a sign that, Satan's time is running out. And not to say that, the Nephilim are satanic or anything, but I do think that it's kind of a sign of the end times that we're seeing more and more sightings and finds of these things. But anyway, guys, I would like to thank you so much. And I would like to say God bless all of you. And thank you so much. God bless you and your families. And make sure you guys subscribe and turn on that notification bell, because I go live randomly usually. I try and set up shows a few days ahead, but a lot of the time, like tonight, I just decided to go live within like half an hour. So make sure you guys hit that notification bell so you don't miss any live shows. And thank you for subscribing, guys. God bless all of you guys. Thanks for coming, Rex. Again, it was always good to have you on. Check out Rex's channel.
Man.
His channel's called BioRex18. I'll type it in the chat. He's trying to get.
You can also find me up on TikTok. I'm trying to push my music. Got some it got conspiracy and it's got a little bit of everything for everybody. I do a lot of different music and I'm working on it just to keep.
That's Rex's channel name on YouTube. He's trying to get more people to hear his music, and like you said, he's on TikTok too. So yeah,
And
thanks
Nick
for watching.
also, hey, before you let out, we are Nick, like you said, we're gonna try to work on a conspiracy channel on my side. So
Yeah,
when
for
we get
sure.
that together, we will be tuning in for that. Just
I'll come talk.
bring your
conspiracy on
ideas.
channel.
Yep. You guys want to come in and talk? I want to hear it. So come over, and Nick will keep you updated on that.
Yeah, that's Rex's channel right there. We're gonna do some conspiracy like shows on his channel. I'm trying to keep mine on the same niche about God and the end times and apologetics and stuff. But on that channel there, on Rex's channel, we'll do some crazy cool conspiracy stuff. So thanks for watching. God bless, guys, and I hope to see you guys in the next show. Okay, bye for now.